Hi, Ray Hayden here, and this video is going to be about changing a three-way light switch. I'll explain that in a minute. First things first, if you like the video, give me a thumbs up and let me know that you like it. Make a comment below, let me know you came by to say hey, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate the growth on the network. Let's get into this video on changing this light switch. If anybody knows me well at all, they know that I'm paranoid of electricity and I don't really want to die stupid. So for me, I turn off the entire house. So I go out to the power box where the power is coming into the entire house and I shut that off. Now this is obviously operating off of battery power, which is a great opportunity for me to discuss the next thing that I want to say. I like to get more bang for the buck out of every single video I make, and this is that golden opportunity. A while back I had picked up a power brick. It doesn't matter which one you get, they all seem to work the same way. It's just batteries in a case, and you can use the power cord that came with your cell phone, and this is a cell phone that's making this recording, and you just connect that up and find a secure way to hold this up on your tripod or whatever, or hand hold it with your camera, or if you have a long enough cable, you can actually just put the battery brick in your pocket, or if you had a pouch or something, you can do that too. And then you can get continuous additional power to your cell phone while you're making your video. Another thing I noticed was when I don't have the power off and I am using power, I plug the cell phone into the outlet. I just actually use my power thing and the power charger came with the cell phone, and I can actually recharge my cell phone without being disconnected. The thing about that is, I'm a professional videographer for a lot of years, and none of my professional cameras have that capability. If you're plugging them in and you have a battery in the camera and the camcorder, it doesn't recharge that battery. It just powers the camcorder and skips the battery. I'm like, well, this is a nicer, newer technology kind of thing to recharge my phone while I'm doing it. And speaking of phones, let's go over to this. The phone that's recording this is this kind of phone here, and it has a little camera in the corner here, and it has the whole face is a large monitor. Now, in my other cameras, my camcorders, they had the large monitor, but it was nowhere near this large, and also didn't take as sharp a video as this camera can take. So technology marches on. All right, so let's get into the cover here. Now it's a two switch cover, and in the top of the switch itself is where that connects. There's these three circles here. The center circle is where that screw comes in, and the screw is really short because it only has to go through here and hang on to that little thing. That's all it has to do. It's not really for strength, it's just for looks, really, more than anything else. The other thing is that screw right there on the top, that's the screw that is here, and it's really gonna stay with this switch as I take this off and replace it with this one. Another thing is these do have a top and a bottom to them. And if we look at the front part of it, in this particular one, and I normally notice that I see this is the green screw is for the neutral wire or the ground. And so this one here would be for that. And it's usually on the switches I've been playing around with, it's usually on the bottom. And also this copper thing here is just another visual clue to me that it's probably the bottom. But if you look up here, you'll see a little engraved word. Maybe you'll see it or not. Anyways, well, just above the screw, there's a little engraved, it says top, T-O-P. So this is the top of the switch here. So it's just something for me to keep in mind. And now that's gonna be important because I've actually used my phone as Misdemeanor and I do when we acquire the switch. We wanna know what we need to get. So we take this thing out, and there's writing along the side, there's writing along the other side, maybe the top and the bottom and everything else. And what we'll do is we'll take pictures of it. And we take pictures of all the writing on them because even with the glasses on, I may not be able to read that well. So I will go ahead and zoom in. Just use your finger pinching and thing on your screen, and you can zoom in on the image and everything and get what you need to get off of that. Now this one here is more for, and let's get into the other images that I have, and it's for the wiring. All right, so we want to make sure that we put the wiring on the right side, the correct side of the cable, or of the switch, right? So this one here has the green switch and a green screw and a black screw. So the white wire, which is hard to tell here, it's not going to the green screw, it's actually going to a screw below that. I'll zoom in on this a little bit. It's a good thing about the zoom. So you see that white casing is going past that, and the blank wire that you see here, the bare wire, that's the ground wire, and that's what's going to the green screw. And that's what's going to happen here as well. And on the other side, of the thing. We have the red and black wire. Now in our playing around with these different wires and everything else, the red wire is an additional wire when you have these like three-way switches and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to do. And in our situation here, the wire is going to go in like this. So this would be off for this particular switch, and that's on. All right. Actually, it has a little name of the thing. It's a Leviton or whatever. It has a name on it right there on the button as well. All right. So what I'm going to do on this is I'm going to make sure I got. Let's go ahead and move the camera here and get this thing a little bit closer. First off, drop it down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace one wire at a time. This green one is the bottom. Okay. Now both of these are brass colored. As a matter of fact, except for that black wire, the black screw over here, everything else is brass. So that, you know, and this one here has the black wire or black screw over here and a completely different wire, different colored brass nut on the other side. But we're going, this is the way we're going with it because that's the way it's kind of hooked up here. All right. So I'll turn that switch off. Wrapped it up, put it in a pretty bow here. I pushed the switch back into the wall. See, I had gone outside, shut the power off. Then I came back in, finished that off by pushing the switch back into a switch box, putting the cover on and making sure everything was nice and neat and wrapped up the way I wanted it to be. And then I came back in. Now, this is probably gonna mess up the settings on my camera a little bit, but I turn on a light and it works. All three switches work and they work in a proper order and everything else. What had happened is the other switches weren't working to turn the light on. Any of the switches should turn it on or off from that particular switch. And then what happened is this switch kind of became like a master switch. This thing here had to be on. So the problem was with this switch. So that's how we isolated which switch was wrong. Then again, we had taken the switch kind of out of the wall, taken pictures of all the writing on the switch to make sure that we picked up the correct switch. Of course, this thing here was put in like 20 years ago or something like that. So the switches have changed a little bit. And apparently what they did is they changed the location of these two screws to where they have a brass and a black screw here. And then they have the brass and the green neutral or the ground wire here. Now the ground wire is usually towards the bottom of the switch. I remember that. But the black and the black and the brass have switched sides on the newer version of the switch. And it's a three-way switch. It happens to be a 15 amp, 20 volt, or 120 volt, 15 amp, 120 volt, three-way switch. And that's what it needed to be to work for our purposes here. And so Misdemeanor and I, my wife Misdemeanor and I, took all the pictures, went to the store, talked to the consultants at the store to make sure that we were getting the right product for the need that we had. And then coming back here and then experimenting with the wiring. Because that's what the problem was. When I put it together the first time, it didn't work. I just switched the two wires and that worked. I figured the red wire was in the right place and luckily it was. And that's one of the other things I have about the wiring and electricity and stuff like that is sometimes the wiring is not as expected. I kind of expect it to be a nice simple thing and it probably is. If you work with electricity every day, if you're a professional, it probably is a standard thing and it probably is the same way every way, but I find things to be confusing at times and confusing is dangerous, which is why I shut off the power to the entire house, all right? So that's gonna wrap it up for this particular video. My assistant Chirp is here to help us out. But don't forget me a thumbs up, like the video, make a comment below, let me know you came by to say hi. And if you haven't already done so, consider subscribing to the channel. I greatly appreciate the growth on the network. And until I catch you in the next video, take care and be well.